Well, good morning from Brooklyn. I hope you can hear me. It is very loud here. It's hard to get a moment's silence in the city. And welcome to another interview video. So if we rewind back to around about March, myself and Faizal were in Madrid. We started the interview, however, the weather didn't play ball. The heavens opened and we had to stop. In Tokyo, we just kind of forgot about it, and now it makes sense to do it here in New York, where Faizal lives and where he shoots most of the time. So if you haven't watched the first video, I do highly suggest you watch that, because it will make this video make more sense and you can kind of carry on. If you've watched that, then stay tuned and we will carry on with the interview of Faizal Westcott. A lot of our audience will be US based. How would you compare photography in different parts of the world to shooting New York, for example? How would you compare Europe or Morocco that you've been to, or even Japan of a last trip? What are the key differences that you found?
New York, I think people are really used to cameras, so I think that makes it easier. Like, as a photographer with a camera, you feel like you don't have many eyes on you. When I went to Madrid, I felt like everyone was staring at me. That made it difficult to shoot. Obviously, that's something you can get over, just tuning it out. But sometimes it can be hard. It was hard for me. Tokyo was kind of similar in that sense. Like, you see a lot of people with cameras, so you feel like you don't stick out with a camera. New York, I would say, is so different than any other place I've photographed, because people don't care that you're taking their photo. As if they're like a local, right? People are so consumed with where they're trying to go, like they're busy to get from point A to point B, they just don't even know you're there. So I think that's why a lot of photographers here can shoot so freely, photographing people in particular.
What advice would you give to a New Yorker who is going abroad for the first time, let's just say Europe, and he wants to shoot?
You cannot assume it's going to be the same, like how people react to you. Like when I went to Marrakesh, people are very sensitive to cameras. They do not like to be photographed. And it makes sense, because a lot of people go to places where cameras aren't common on the street, and they treat it like it's New York City. It'll take like an adjustment period at first. Like, you gotta feel it out, you know, how shooting is in that area, that new place. So you might not be able to right off the bat shoot in a way that you're used to. You have to adapt and shoot differently maybe at the beginning. And then if you have once you get a better understanding of how people react to photography and how you feel shooting personally in that area, then you can, feel better about it.
This is behind the scenes of Faizal's thumbnail creations. This is exclusive content that you will not see anywhere else. In Japan, you picked up the Leica M11P, now, which is not that. But my question is, now that you've used the Leica for a while, what's your thoughts on that particular system, and has it fundamentally changed how you shoot, both in terms of the photos you've taken and your approach to photography? Because prior to the Leica, obviously your main camera was the XT5 for stills. So what changes have you observed by moving to that system, if any?
I am now creating art, whereas before, I was not a real photographer. But since picking up the Leica, I am now a professional. So the main difference or change to my process would be that I'm shooting landscape a lot more because of the rangefinder. Because this is really awkward to do with the rangefinder, but so easy to do with the X-T5 or this camera.
Is that limiting, or is that more of a, did you find that limiting at all?
Not really limiting, actually refreshing, because I found myself usually always composing in portrait orientation with the X-T5. So shooting landscape more and thinking in landscape, it's just different, and it's nice to do that.
And in terms of the photos themselves, have you found your artistic approach change at all? Maybe how you edit, the colors, subject matter, any of that?
I don't think my photos really changed much because of the camera. Like, if I never got the Leica, I'd be still taking the same photos.
Right.
It's not making me a better photographer.
So today, Faizal is using this tank of a camera, which is a Nikon ZF with a Typoc extendable lens on it as well. It's definitely a very unique combination, I must say. I've not seen this in the wild before, but it does look very retro and cool. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned about photography over the years? If there's one particular lesson or learning, so to speak, that stands out the most to you, is there anything like that?
Getting used to failure, I guess. So I think that's a big part of like street photography. It's like constant failure, always messing up and learning from that. And actively push yourself to get out of your comfort zone, because I think that's when you grow. And I think that's another thing that I can apply to like other parts of my life, which I think is a good thing, right? That's pretty deep. Is that deep enough?
Life lessons from Faizal, episode 1. All jokes aside, what Faizal was saying is completely true. Accepting failure is just paramount if you want to have a decent and healthy relationship with photography, because otherwise you will hate it and you will give up if you don't accept failure. And failure can come in many, let's just say, guises. It could be going out, spending money going into a city or a trip, spending all day shooting and having nothing to show for it. It could also be nearly getting the shot and something not working out. Maybe you fucked up the settings, maybe something else happened. So failure can come in all shapes and sizes, and accepting that will definitely make your life a lot better, because then you will no longer be chasing perfection and you'll have a realistic approach to photography. So when you do get setbacks and failure, it's just part of the parcel. It's what you signed up for.
If you're finding this video useful and wish to support the channel, then one of the best ways to do so is to check out my little photography book. This book consists of everything I know about photography and everything I've learned over the last decade put into a concise and easy to understand format. Think of this as a photography course without the cost. It covers psychology, mistakes, lessons learned, lighting, composition, color, editing, workflow, and so much more. For more information, see the links in the description, and thank you for your support.
Do you remember a particular point where photography kind of clicked for you?
I have fucking no idea.
It's part 2 getting scrapped.
God damn it. Dude, you should have gave me these questions in advance.
You've got about 10 seconds to think.
And that's it. Everything clicked for me once I stopped caring what everyone else was doing. I feel like if you shoot for other people, you're no longer really doing it for the love of photography, you're just doing it for likes. And I think it all clicks when you understand like art is subjective, photography is subjective, and what you put out into the world will be interpreted completely different than how you intended it to be, and that's okay.
So to jump on Faizal's point there, I do agree with him that you need to first and foremost create for yourself. I think Rick Rubin, the famous producer, music producer, said that at the end that you shouldn't be making music for your audience, you should be creating it for yourself. Because the moment you start making things for your audience is the moment you'll probably lose your own voice, and the very thing that people liked you for in the first place. And then you just become a product of what everyone else likes at the time, which is a trend. And then that's where you end up shooting just a trend. And then when that trend disappears, you become not irrelevant, but you lose a lot of your appeal by not paying attention to what your audience likes and creating just for yourself. You remain true to what you want to do. And I think that will, in the long term, build a much more loyal following around your work, because people are following you for you, if that makes sense. If you can condense it down to one tip, what one piece of advice would you give a beginner?
All right, my tip would be to bring your camera with you everywhere you go. When you're first starting out, it's easy to look at street photography as like a thing you're gonna go out and do. So you schedule, all right, Friday I'm gonna go shoot. And then that's just one day in the week, right? And then you forget about it. Then it becomes one day out of 2 weeks, and then it becomes just, you just did it one month. But if you bring your camera with you every day, you're always doing it. And I feel like that's like the biggest way to learn. It's just by doing that one small change and building that experience naturally.
So to tag along from Faizal's point, some of my favorite and some of my best photos were taken when I wasn't out shooting, when I didn't go out with sole purpose of taking photos. I had my camera on me, and I would probably be going to the shops, just on a chill day out with my girlfriend, with my mum, traveling somewhere. Basically, photography wasn't the main purpose of going out. And normally when I do that, I'll bring the X100 or the X-T5 with a little pancake lens on it and keep the setup light. And in many cases, those days resulted in some of my favorite photos. All right, and we're now on to the last question of the day, and that is, where do you see photography going over the next 10 years?
I think I'll still be doing photography 10 years from now. I've joked with my friends that I'm getting into my landscape photography era, so I could see myself becoming a landscape photographer 10 years from now, or a portrait photographer. Photography's definitely gonna still be here. Technology is gonna advance drastically. We see it with like AI. I don't know how that's gonna affect things. I don't think it will really affect the working photographer, because people still value humans and human-made art. Knowing that a human made it makes something feel more valuable, or at least I feel like it does. I think I'm hopeful that it will be in a good place, not a worse place than now. Yeah. Butchering this second interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And with that, that's done. Where can people find you? Well, I'll link you everything down below, but FaizalWestcott.com for your portfolio.
Yep.
Instagram @Westcott. On the YouTube, same again. That's it. Any final words?
Kill me.
It's not your day, is it, mate?
Not for an interview.